Now, let me tell you about Paul. Paul Merrill was the launch editor of Zoo magazine, both Zoo Weekly, both in the UK and in Australia.
Obviously, women's weeklies had existed for nearly 100 years, and people thought men didn't buy magazines, whereas women lapped up magazines. You know, Your Life, The Weekend happens weekly, and there was no reason not to do it. So I think a lot of people ask, when Zoo and Nuts launched simultaneously in the UK in 2004, why no one had done it before, and it's a good question. Obviously, young blokes in their 20s have very simple needs, and clearly a sexy girl on the cover was going to be one of the things that we knew was going to be there from the start. Then it became about what else was going to be in the magazines. But you did focus groups, and you realize that in their world, they don't know what Tony Blair's done that week or anything. It's more about what game is released, or what funny YouTube video they're all passing around with their mates, or a car that's coming out, or something like that. And it took us a while, I think, to realize that to be topical wasn't going to be about reflecting the mainstream news, which was our original thought. And instead, because you think to a young bloke down the pub who's aged 18 to 24, or in probably any country, if you could be a fly on the wall and listen to what they're talking about, it's not going to be the stuff that you've seen on the ABC News. We showed Australians the UK edition, and they were horrified by it because they hadn't got that heritage of page 3 of The Sun and the loaded glamour girls and the tabloid press, I guess. So we showed it to them, and they recoiled and said, well, they wouldn't buy it because how could they read it in front of their girlfriends and their mums, and how could they read it on the bus or in the factory? So we had to temper the magazine and make it quite safe. So there were no nipples for a start, and no terrible injuries, and everything was kind of watered down and blanded down a little bit. Because we couldn't show nipples, we decided there have to be a way to show girls in a state of undress where you didn't show the nipples. So you had the hand bra,
the hair bra,
which we kind of invented, and now has its own Wikipedia entry, bizarrely. Magazines like the gossip mags, your likes of NW or Who or Famous, all they do is criticize women. They criticize women for having fat thighs or bad hair days or too much makeup or not enough makeup or looking 10 years older than they did 10 years ago, and just all those sort of things. Everything is a criticism. Everything's, putting them down, or they're, just... Whereas Zoo, whatever you think of it, it puts women on a pedestal. We didn't even have sexist jokes in the magazine, just because we had an overall policy. We don't criticize women because we celebrate them. They're our girlfriends. They're our, girls that we want to be our girlfriends.
Photoshop.
Yes.
How big a part does that play in the images that we see in a magazine like Zoo?
Well, it plays a part. I mean, every image is photoshopped and airbrushed, but not as much, I would guess, as some of the women's mags. I mean, the girls in Zoo are fairly regular looking. The idea is that they should look like the girl next door. That's the kind of image we're going for. Wholesome, girl next door, usually smiling. There's no kind of, if you look at the girls on the cover, usually they haven't got that sort of pouting, come fuck me kind of look, because that immediately kind of, makes it look a little bit more, I would say, offensive or liable to get stripped out of a supermarket.